Hey, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in. So we're gonna have some fun with this. I'm back, another live for you. Like I said, I'm gonna start doing these a lot more. I do think that you know there's a game we have to talk about last night with the Bills and the Dolphins. So I'll touch on that a little bit today. Also, a lot of talk about Tua, so I'll give you my thoughts on him as well. We'll take a look at I think something that I feel like is kind of monumental in terms of the U.S. men's national team. Something, a new age, we'll say, for them. Then I'll kind of let you know what will I be watching this weekend. It's a, you know, packed sports weekend like most this time of year. But mainly, I just want to come on here, just have some fun with you all, talk about whatever. So if you're coming in, let me know you're here. Let me know what's up. Uh, like I said, I want to hear from you. Stuff I talk about, the stuff you want me to talk about. Like it's all fair game. So let's go ahead and get started with Mauricio Pochettino, who is now officially the new coach for the U.S. men's national team. Now, this is something that was announced, it seems like months ago. And, we've been waiting to see when he'd actually, be the guy in charge. And hey, what's going on, Liam? Hopefully, you're having a good day. So, Pochettino is now tasked with, I guess, fixing some of the issues that not only I, but other fans have with the U.S. men's team. They have a decent amount of young talent, I feel like. It just seems like with Beer Halter and all that, there was a lack of direction or kind of like a lack of growth. It seemed like they kind of got stale and everything like that. Hold on. Sorry for you. Played that guy. Managed too much, and I had mad depression. I'm so sorry for you. Played that guy. Managed too much, and I had mad. Uh, there's go on, Jory. Um, I mean, Liam. I guess expand on that. Played that guy. Managed too much. I guess you're talking about, I guess, Pochettino's managing style. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I think I understand where you're coming from. Look, is he? I mean, look, he's the best that I could say the U.S. has and has had in a while. It's gonna be tough. The World Cup is in 2 years, actually less than 2 years at this point. It's the summer of 2026. He doesn't officially like start in terms of what we see as a product on the field until October, and that's gonna be a friendly against Panama, which I don't even know if we can really judge him on that. Oh, hey, Jory. Yeah, it's all good. Whichever platform works for you. I mean, unfortunately, I still can't go live in the Facebook group, but you know that's Zuckerberg. Um, oh, okay. I watched him at Chelsea week in and week out last season. He really made his subs were terrible. His teams he would put out. He is a bad manager that gets made to look good because he had a good team to carry him. Okay, I kind of figured that that's what you were because I did watch him Chelsea as well. I mean, I do wonder if the situation at Chelsea. 'Cause I know Chelsea had some issues with their books and the contracts that they signed. 'Cause I remember they went like money crazy when they had guys like Pulisic. They had um, Lukaku and those guys. So yeah, his Chelsea time wasn't the best. I feel like he does get a lot of praise, and maybe for you, you might think he's a bit overrated. I feel like Tottenham was kind of where he made a name for himself. And like I said, I know a little about him from watching him like you did with Chelsea. I saw him with Tottenham as well. I looked into like his bio and stuff. And here is my reasoning for thinking that it could work with the US, because it seems like he's a guy that's about youth development and having almost like a one train of thought between the youth academy, the senior team, and everything that's involved in that. I think the US could definitely benefit from something like that. I think his ability, and I guess where you'd have to ask yourself this question is, he coached with like a young, Harry Kane, and coached like young Messi and some of these younger guys that are now seen as really good on the world stage. The question would be, is that Pochettino's development system, or were those guys just going to be great no matter what? And we don't know that. So I guess because of where the beer halter reign had gotten to, I was just excited for anybody. And much less a guy in Pochettino that has a lot of experience on a world stage. I mean, this is his first national team job. But for those of us here in the US, especially if you watch MLS, Premier League and those leagues over in Europe are seen as the benchmark for the quality here. So because he now has that on his resume, I feel like that's where the excitement starts. And look, this is the same U.S. job that, as soon as they dismissed Beerhalter, the name that was thrown out there right away was Jurgen Klopp. I knew full well the U.S. was not going to get Jurgen Klopp. I mean, it was a pipe dream for sure, but I knew that was not real. But the fact that they did get somebody like Pochettino does make it seem like they were big game hunting for the next guy, and they ended up with somebody who I said is definitely a higher profile than Greg Berhalter. Let's see. Actually, start showing these up. Spurs 1-0. PSG are the best team in the league, and we're way ahead anyway. And he was bad at Chelsea. I mean, the PSG part, yes, that's definitely well known. Like PSG in the French league, PSG is the league, so I could go right now, coach that team, and PSG would win, maybe. But I mean, yes, the Chelsea one being his last job is a bit of a concern. I can agree with that. And yes, he didn't win really much of anything at Spurs. And for somebody, once again, when I talk about Premier League and people ask who I'm a fan of, Tottenham is a team I watch. I watch a lot of Man United, Man City, Liverpool. I guess basically like your top half kind of teams. And Spurs were always one of those teams that were always good enough to be top four, never really good enough to win the Premier League. They weren't really good enough to win Champions League. They weren't really good enough to win. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. But look, let's be honest. For a fan of a U.S. team that has never really been all that relevant on the world stage, I will take it right now. Now, look, the game in October, there's only so much you can read into that because he's now literally getting into the position. So I will watch the game, obviously, and will want to see kind of his initial impact on the team. But now, at least we know he's the guy. He's officially the guy. So from here on out, any news that comes out of the U.S., anytime they play friendlies or anything like that, now have a better idea of what is really going on. So that's where it is. Like, we had an interim coach that coached the friendlies in September, but he's basically just like Beerhalter's assistant or something. So nothing really much different there. I just want to see what happens now under him. Lampard looks like the most likely to be the New England manager. What's your opinion on that for him to replace Southgate if that happens? Now, okay, so I mean that's interesting because I know England. I've seen them play, and England is a very talented roster. And my whole thing with them is don't want to see England turn into was it Belgium? Remember Belgium for like the last like 5-6 years has been like this golden age with all this talent. And what has it amounted to? A lot of nothing. So for England being the next guy, that's where the pressure is going to come in. Because Southgate, I know a lot of people, in England weren't big fans of Southgate because of, I think, like of his conservative style and everything like that. And that's a lot that I would notice with England is like they would go up 1-0, get that goal, and they kind of sat back. And I felt like with a lot of the talent that's there, why not keep pushing it, keep being aggressive, and win 2-3-0? Like you have the talent to do it. So for Lampard, I'm trying to think because Lampard was I keep saying coach manager like it's the same thing, but was a manager in the Premier League. Was he with who was he with? Who was he with? I'm picturing it. I mean, Liam, you could probably help me on that because I remember seeing Lampard over in the Premier League. I'm trying to remember the team. It wasn't Leicester City. Was it? Hold on. Everton. Okay, so Chelsea and Everton, but I was picturing a team in blue. So those two obviously wear blue. Okay, so Chelsea and Everton. I mean, Everton has been pretty bad here the last few years. Oddly enough, we go from Pochettino to Lampard. Both have connections with Chelsea. I think with any new manager, you have to give them, some time. I just think the biggest thing is with England, will Lampard be like Southgate and like beholden to Harry Kane necessarily? Because that's one of the issues I kind of had with England. It was like Harry Kane every game, no matter what, was out there starting and playing mostly every minute of every game. And I kind of think where Harry Kane is right now, he probably should be a sub, maybe. But then he also kind of fits Southgate's conservative style. So I want to see if Lampard's going to open it up a bit more. Oh, he was also at Derby before that. Okay. I think I remember him more with Chelsea and Everton. But what's going on, Ruby? Appreciate you tuning in. I believe you are new. Love your take on it. Okay. Kane should 100% be playing. I'm not saying Kane shouldn't play. I'm just like, I mean, okay, so Liam, since you're here, let's talk about this. Do you think, like, would you mind a bit of a reduced role? Like, do you think Kane could be like a super sub coming in 60th minute or something like that? I don't know. I just feel like sometimes I watch them and I feel like Kane slows them down a bit. I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying Kane is a bad player. Like he still scores goals. Like I'm gonna give him that credit. But I just feel like sometimes they could use a bit of a change. I'm doing well, Ruby. How are you? I see you said you're just chilling. Appreciate that. I'm glad you stumbled on in here. Kane would have to start. He's way ahead of everyone in that striker role for England. Okay. Once again, you would know more about England's squad than me. Don't they have like younger strikers? So yeah, maybe it's not time for them to probably take on a more prominent role, but I mean, Liam, like when you watch them, what would you say is the biggest issue with England? Because I mean, England hasn't won. I mean, haven't won a World Cup in a while. So I guess what do you think is England's biggest issue for why they haven't won one in forever? And maybe do you think this current group can actually get it done? Maybe that's a better question for you. Let's see. Knows you're doing talk shows. So, what are your thoughts on it so far? Am I liking podcasts? I mean, I enjoy doing this. Yes. So, I mean, yeah, I do like them. All right. Watkins is the backup. Kane is better than him. Tony was the third choice. He is now gone to Saudi, and England's main problem is squad picking and Southgate at the time. I did see that Tony went to Saudi Arabia, which I mean, it is what it is with that. I don't know about that one with the whole Saudi experience. Like I know Ronaldo's over there and he's killing it, but I mean Ronaldo's like 40 something. Makes sense for him. But Watkins, okay, so Watkins is the backup. I mean, I guess maybe because of lack of alternatives, you probably are stuck with Kane. And like I said, I'm not down on Kane in any way. I think Kane is a good striker. He still scores goals. He gives you target in the box and all that. But it's just that I've seen Watkins come in at times and kind of bring a different energy up front to England. So I guess more than now that I talk about it a bit more, I guess it does make sense why Kane has been cemented in that position and why Watkins is the guy you kind of bring in when you just want to change the pace. So I see where you come from, William, saying that he 100% needs to start. I see what you're saying. And squad picking, South, yeah. So if it is Lampard, at least he's not Southgate. But like I said, I think with any new manager, you have to give them a little bit just to see what their new style will be. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, like I said, I didn't watch Lampard a lot with Everton, so I don't really know much about his style there. With Chelsea, I remember it a little bit. I probably have to look up Lampard's style is his I guess philosophy in terms of tactics. And I guess look at the current state of the England roster and probably get back to you. So I'll come back to this one. We'll talk about it a little bit more, I guess, on my next live. But, it's a good question. So what I've gathered from this, Liam, you're not a fan of Pochettino, which is fine. And you didn't like Southgate, which I will agree with you. I wasn't a big fan of Southgate either. Lampard gives young players a chance, and he doesn't just go for the big name or favorite players, which is what England needs. Okay, so you do agree with me on that one, because that's kind of where I'm at and where I've heard a lot of people talk about they don't like, how Southgate just kind of ran the same guys out there game after game. Hold on, Ruby. I think I skipped over one of yours. Doing great. Keep it up. I appreciate that, Ruby. Consider trying out myself and would really appreciate any tips you could share to help me get started. I mean, okay. I mean, look, for me, I feel like because I understand where you're coming from as well. I was in your shoes a couple of years ago where I knew I was interested in sports and everything like that and was a bit afraid to really try this in terms of, talking to a chat and like basically talking to yourself, but to a chat, but obviously the chat's not in the room with you. So it's a bit weird at first. So I will say, like, if you want to start, you can start maybe doing like audio only, because the first thing for me was getting used to hearing my own voice when playing stuff back. So, start audio, get comfortable talking. Well, once again, talking to yourself, but to an audience. And then from that, give video a try and see how you like that. I guess the main thing is kind of like find your own style and obviously talk about something you're passionate about, which I don't know what that may be. I mean, if you want to, I guess, let me know what kind of podcast or whatever you would like to try. I guess that'd be my biggest thing. Talk about something you really like. Don't be too afraid to try it. Like I said, try audio, then work your way to video. That's the way I went about doing it. And don't get obsessed with numbers, like views, likes, comments, all that. Don't get obsessed with that. If you do it because it's something you want to do, that's why you should do it. People will tune in, people won't. You can't control that, but do it for the love of what you're talking about. That'd be my biggest thing. Got that noted. Every day I would like to learn something. Okay. Looks like a lot of fun. I have a feeling I'll really enjoy it. I mean, go ahead. Why not? I mean, look, everybody else is doing it. Why not? What is my favorite sport? Hmm. So I'm one of those who's I just watch everything, right? So I would say soccer definitely has a special place for me because that was the first sport I played as a kid. And, you know, my dad was big into soccer because that's what he played when he was younger. So that's where I grew up, was watching soccer. Then I kind of became like football and basketball for me because those are bigger here in the US. So I'd probably say football would be probably my favorite. Basketball and soccer are like close second and third. I do also watch like baseball. I watch hockey. Like I said, I watch a lot of sports. So yeah. I mean, Ruby, are you trying to get into a sports podcast or would you be doing something different? I'm not afraid of anything, and that's true. It totally depends. Uh, not about views, I guess you're trying to say. Word of wisdom from the goat. I appreciate that, Jury. I wouldn't call myself the goat, but I appreciate that. Just be yourself and be confident and try to find out what you're looking into, what you really want to do. Your podcast is my tips. That's yes. That's definitely great word of wisdom from you, Liam. Yeah. Because like I said, a lot of people are doing this. So people will have billions of options on it. And taking this from somebody who's also has a very small footprint in the grand scheme of the podcasting landscape. When I do this, whether it's a recorded video or a live, I do it because I just want to talk. And I've done some of these where it's one person watching, and I will have as much fun as I can with that one person watching. I've done these and necessarily nobody watches. But I also know that some people, because of the timing that you do it or what people may have going on, they may not catch it live, but they might see it after the fact. And then if that's the case, so what? They're still checking out your content. I think the biggest issue, and I spoke about, and I said this a little before, but it's like some people think that because they watch like Stephen A. Smith, who has a podcast is real popular, or Shannon Sharp, or all these people obviously talking about the sports landscape because that's what I do. They think if they start, they'll automatically get to that kind of level because they'll be like, those guys make it look easy. Yeah, the difference is they already have a following from being on TV, and a lot of people are going to follow them no matter what they do. So for you, Ruby, you may start out and like I said, nobody might check it out, but Do it for the love of it, and your following will come with it. Once again, somebody who has very little following, but that's all I'll say. Just have fun with it. Be as creative as you can with it, and be proud of every bit of content that you put out there. Sounds amazing. And in all this, I realized I haven't introduced myself properly. Could I take the stage away? uh, I mean, yeah. I mean, Ruben, when you do get it started, I would happily tune in, help you out with that one. All right. So I feel like talked a lot about Pochettino and Lampard. So we'll see how both of them do. Well, I guess if Lampard does get the England job. I mean, Liam, is there anybody else who's in line for it other than Lampard, or is Lampard like the favorite who they want, and it's kind of up to Lampard whether or not he wants the job? The interim manager could keep the job. Oh, okay. I guess I'll have to check out England the next time they play. I know they. Well, I know that they were playing in the is the Nations League, UEFA Nations League. I believe they played the other day. I saw a little bit of it. I think they were playing Ireland. I mean, once again, like it's Ireland. Like no shame on Ireland, but England is supposed to beat them. Like I want to see England against a better opponent, and then I guess I'll see what the interim manager looks like. But hmm, I mean, would you rather the interim manager or Lampard? Because I could see probably Lampard if he wants the job, obviously, just to get like a fresh face in there, might be better off. Let's see. Mm, Here we go. Interim is good, but Lampard would be better for England. Okay. I guess we'll see if England can get it done. Because once again, just to tie back into the U.S. before I move on to the next topic, like I said, Pochettino over the interim guy. I'll take Pochettino. And look, the U.S. is not going to be kind to Pochettino because if we see a couple of games from him and the U.S. squad doesn't look any better, the pressure will be on him. Especially 2026 World Cup is in the U.S. U.S. fans are expecting the U.S. to have a good showing. What does that mean? I don't know. For me, it's if they get out of the group stage, if they make the knockout stage, depending on who they play against, obviously that would temper my expectations. But I want them to be a team that advances from the group stage easily. Obviously, depends on what group they're in, other teams, and all that. But I feel like that has to be the expectation. Make the knockout stage. And then the knockout stage game look like you belong. Because the last World Cup, they made out of the group, faced the Netherlands in the knockout stage, and the Netherlands pretty much dominated them. It was only because of what goalkeeping and a couple of defensive plays that the score wasn't worse off than it actually ended up being. I think the U.S. lost 2-0 in that game, I believe. So that's what I'm looking at. if Poch does well, he might want to get the Argentina job, and if he doesn't get sacked, I don't see him there for long. I mean, that is obviously the worry in getting a guy of Pochettino's level, is that he is Argentinian. So if that job does open up, you would think that would be a better job than the U.S. job. I mean, they said he's here through the World Cup, which I feel like anybody they brought in, that's all you could really guarantee from the new coach, is that they'll be here till 2026. Then after that, it's probably just going to be, like you said, for Pochettino, is there another job that interests him that he would rather do over be in the U.S. for, at that point, would be the next 4-year cycle leading up to the 2030 World Cup. And it could just be that he wants to get back to, coaching a club, and maybe a high profile club comes up and that's where he goes. But that is a worry that after 2026 he's gone, and then the U.S. is back to square one trying to find out who they want to get long term. So, all right, Liam, appreciate it. I mean, I was happy to talk some soccer with you while you were in here. So, I will say, gonna move on to some other sports. I mean, grass ping pong. That comment usually comes up every time I do talk soccer. Ruby. Okay, so I see you're a digital creator. I mean, I have links in my bio. Like, if you want to hit me up on there, that's cool. You got family over? All right, yeah. Obviously, spend that quality time with your family. I get it. I mean, you good. You were in here, so it's all good. All right, let's go next topic. So more of the American feel to the show now. We got the Bills and the Dolphins that played last night. Now, if you saw me over on Integrity Sports Network, I did predict a Bills win. I did think it was going to be a little closer than it ended up being. I predicted like 23-17. It turned out to be 31-10. And Buffalo was as dominant as the score would tell you. Like, what I will say is I appreciated seeing almost like a more conservative Josh Allen. There were times where I was afraid. He had a lot of time in the pocket. I was like, oh, here we go. He's going to throw one of those deep ball interceptions that he likes to do. And he didn't. Few times he threw out into the flat. Some were incompletions where he was kind of killing the play anyway. But that was good to see. Another thing I liked what I saw from Buffalo, they utilized the running game. And James Cook was utilized in the passing game as well, but they utilized running backs. That's something I've been saying with Buffalo that they needed to do. So I was encouraged by that. Because like I said, Josh Allen, you look at his numbers, they don't blow you away. But watching him on the field, he looks like a smarter quarterback. And I think for Buffalo, that will get them, a lot of wins this season. And Tua took that job before getting hurt. Yes, I was about to talk about Tua, the job being reckless, because Tua had a couple of interceptions in the first half. The first one, they were throwing like a deep slant. The defender got a hand in there, knocked it in the air. That was picked off. That one, I'm like, all right, I guess you can live with that one a little bit. The second one, he just floated it over Robbie Chosen's head. Formerly Robbie Anderson, but Robbie Chosen. That was a bad throw. Bad throw, bad read, like everything. So, yeah, that one you can't have. And once again, Tyreek Hill didn't do much. And this is a Miami team that predicates itself on its passing game with Waddle and Tyreek Hill being, matchup nightmares for defenses around the league. Through 2 weeks, to be honest with you, they haven't looked great I know they won last week against Jacksonville, but Jacksonville had their own issues, and if it wasn't for the ETN fumble, they probably lose that game. So Miami's kind of lucky to be 1-1 at this point. I think last night showed a lot that without Mostert, I mean, I, I want to call him like A Chain, but I guess they keep calling him like a Chan or A Chan. I think it's A Chan how you pronounce it, but until they find like real balance, I just don't know if Miami you can really take them seriously. And I've already had questions about them in terms of cold weather and all this. Like this is the part of the schedule that Miami is supposed to be dominant. It's warmer out, still nice. This is when they're supposed to be good, and they haven't looked good so far through 2 weeks. So I did predict before the season that Miami would win the division. To be honest with you, after 2 weeks, well, they're the only ones that have played twice, but they clearly look like, and I'm talking about Buffalo here, the best team in the division. And I think it's kind of safe to say I don't even think it's an overreaction necessarily at this point. All things considered, I'm kind of considering that they will probably end up winning the division. I'll be completely wrong about them because I went as bold enough to say I didn't even see Buffalo as a playoff team, which obviously if it continues like this, I'll look pretty dumb for that. But this Josh Allen, this James Cook, I think Buffalo can be really good this year. I'm not going to say they're a contender. Don't do that. Need a couple more games before I can, but they look like one of the best teams in the AFC right now, 2 games in. And for Miami, well, I guess this leads into the next topic. Because Tua, even with the 2 interceptions early on, the bigger story is another concussion. This is now, is it 3 in his NFL career? His last season in Alabama, he had a concussion as well. So that's 4 in his career already. And once again, as somebody I've had like 2 concussions. They're not fun. Not a great time. Now, the bigger worry is from what we know about the lingering effects and the lasting effects of concussions, and with obviously some of the sad stories of former players that dealt with concussions, a lot of the worry today is about Tua's future in the league and whether or not he should continue and all this kind of stuff. So I think what you kind of have to say about Tua is he needs to have a serious conversation. Somebody in his family needs to sit him down and kind of alert him to some of the fears that they have. That's 1. 2, I know Tua is an athlete, and the last thing any athlete wants to do is to walk away when they know they can still play the game. It's always hard for athletes to take a step back and be like, I need to think about my future and all this kind of stuff. But I kind of think he has to do that. And I was wondering this. I heard Ryan Clark talk about it. I was glad he talked about it because Ryan Clark was another guy that dealt with concussions and all that. He said that Tua is wearing one of the safest helmets that's available. Because I was wondering that as well. I'm hoping that Tua is, taking it seriously and is, like I said, wearing the NFL helmet that are the safest. He actually is. So it's not like he can get anything safer. So, and even, I keep saying so, my bad, but even looking at the hit, like he took a forearm in his head, and that's what knocked him out. It's almost like with each concussion, the hit that he's taking, I can't really say that because, I mean, you hit his forearm, your head, rattles around a little bit. It can happen, but I mean, it's kind of sad where this story seems like it's heading down. And Mike McDaniel, he let us know what he told him coming off the field, like he's the quarterback of his family and stuff like that. He talked about after the game that the conversations about them about Tua, whether he should retire, he feels like those conversations shouldn't be happening right now. I guess trying to say like Tua needs to just worry about coming back from this one. Uh, as Jory says, they look worse than my team, the Dolphins. I to be honest with you, I completely agree with that. The Dolphins have not looked good at all, and that's 3 in 2 years. Yeah, so it's like I know it's only week 2. I know the Dolphins probably won't do this. They did it last year after the concussion. They sat him for the rest of the year. You also got to think they were much deeper into the season when they made that decision. So I don't know what their plan is, like how long they're going to hold them out. They did talk about bringing in a quarterback in the meantime, which kind of lets you know they might be ready to have Tua sit out 4, 5, whatever weeks that they really do need a quarterback in there. I mean, I guess the Skylar Thompson experience doesn't excite them in any way. And I talked about this over on Integrity. The Jordan Love injury, a lot of people talked about Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill's been in Miami before. This seems like a spot that Ryan Tannehill might pop up at, like I said, because they're talking about Tua obviously going to be out multiple games. I just feel like Tua needs to, I don't know, man. It's definitely a tough conversation to have because you don't want to tell somebody that's still so young that the game that they grew up loving and got the opportunity to play, that they can now just walk away from so early in their career. But it's kind of a fact of the matter that he has to look at his personal health seriously right now. And even once again to say about the play, yes, should he have gotten down sooner? Obviously. But they were down in the game. He felt like he was making a play. He wanted to get a couple extra yards, get the first down or whatever. I can't fault him for that because in the moment when he's taking off, he's not thinking, oh, if I take a hit, I might get another concussion. I can't handle that right now. He's not thinking that. He's just thinking of making a play. And it's just unfortunate that he did catch Damar Hamlin's forearm to the head, and that's what led to the concussion. We saw kind of his fingers lock up again, which was the scary image that we saw when was that against the Bengals, I think, when he got slammed down to the turf, and that's when we saw it was like similar image. So I guess sitting here right now, if I had to predict, part of me thinks this might be the last time we see Tua. I guess I'll hold out maybe like a 35% chance he comes back, plays this year, doesn't have another one the rest of his career, and we don't talk about it. But I think we're past the point where it's like come back and play, and then the next concussion, think about retirement. I think we're past that. I think it needs to be on the table right now. And the only one who can make that decision is Tua. Miami can't pressure him into doing it. The league can't pressure him into doing it. It's going to be Tua's call. So, I mean, I don't know if he's married or whatever. Maybe that's what needs to happen. Like somebody close to him in his family needs to convince him. I just don't need to see him, especially with another concussion. Seen enough of it. Although it did, this is kind of my, 35% if he comes back. Why is he not wearing one of these? Because Jabril Peppers was one of 5 players to wear the Guardian cap, which we saw all over training camp when players were wearing them for walkthroughs and all that. But then we get to the regular game, only 5 players do it. Like I said, Jabril Peppers wore it, and he basically said, for the way that he plays, where he hits a lot, it was an easy decision to wear the Guardian cap because he wants to protect himself. Now, he did also say that, I guess with the cap and like the little cover you put over it, if it was hot in Cincinnati, he may not have worn it for, because obviously you want to be comfortable. So that I understand, but I also see where he's like, he's a guy that, will hit guys over the middle and all that. Makes sense for that extra layer of protection. So maybe Tua convinces himself that if he does try it again, he'll then wear the Guardian cap. And then at that point, I guess he'll have to look at it and say, at least he's taking precautions to be even safer. Only thing I don't know, I probably should have looked this up before starting. Does the Guardian cap only work on certain helmets? I think that's probably stupid to ask, but you never know. Because like I said, Tua is actually, there's like 3 helmet models that were deemed the safest by the league, and Tua's wearing one of them. So it obviously didn't help him last night. So I think he probably needs to rock the Guardian cap if he's going to attempt to continue his career. But let's keep going. So what am I watching this weekend? Obviously, you can let me know what you will be watching as well as I go through this. But like I said, a lot of sports going on. I'm kind of a sport nut. So what will I be watching? Okay, so I did say we're probably done with grass ping pong, as you call it, Jory. But I will be watching Premier League this weekend as they are back from their international break. And usually my Saturday mornings consist of me checking out a couple of Premier League games. I will probably watch Man United and Southampton, only because Man United, for those of you who may not watch soccer, Man United is like the Cowboys of the Premier League. They are always talked about. The success necessarily isn't always there, but they're always on people's mind. So I'll be watching them to see. I think they had a couple of guys added to the team. I want to see if they look any better, because so far they've only played 3 games, had the international break. They're resuming the schedule. They're 14th in the table, and they haven't looked good so far. So we'll see if their new players help out. I'll also be checking out Liverpool, because like I said, Liverpool is probably the team I don't know. I keep saying Liverpool's the team I'm like a fan of, and that's because their connection of the Red Sox, who I obviously am a fan of, and Mo Salah is one of my favorite players. So I do, watch Liverpool as well. I mean, they're playing Nottingham Forest, like, should be an easy win, but we'll see. Also watch City and Brentford, Chelsea, Bournemouth, Arsenal, Spurs. That might be the game of the slate. Arsenal, you can argue, is the second best team over in Europe right now, behind Man City, and Spurs, who we talked about a little earlier, are that team that's always lingering around. So I'm excited to have Premier League back. My Saturdays have been a little without it. So Jory, Bama, Titans, and the rest of the league, and some anime. All right, that's it. Sounds like a good weekend. What else will I be watching? As Jory mentioned, with her Titans, the NFL. Actually, this is the wrong image because I have whatever. I literally thought that this was the week 2 one. I think I put up the wrong one. So forgive me for that one. But yeah, so week 2 is happening. And I will say that the games I will be watching, you got Monday night with the Falcons and the Eagles. I mean, the primetime games are a given, right? So I don't really need to get into that. Now, the Titans do play the Jets, which once again, disregard the image up right now. The Titans play the Jets. That's a game I will be watching. I want to see the Titans defense go up against the Jets offense that didn't really protect well against San Francisco. I feel like Tennessee could pose similar problems for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. And as a Patriots fan, I would love nothing more than to see the Jets go 0-2 and watch the panic start in New York. So there we go. I'm also going to be watching. I'm trying to think. There's a few other games that caught my attention because obviously I'm going to save the Patriots one for last, obviously, because obviously I'll be watching that one too. But hold on. All right, here we go. So I'll be watching. Watch Colts Packers. No Jordan Love. They're sticking with Malik Willis. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Colts will win that one easily." Obviously, if you look at the rest of my page over on YouTube or whatever, I did my week 2 picks already. I actually think the Packers are going to win that game. And I think it's very simple. Josh Jacobs. If you have him on your fantasy, as I do, I'm expecting a big game from him. And obviously, the Colts will be playing Josh Jacobs and force Malik Willis to beat them with his arm. I'll just keep saying it. Look at what the Patriots did to the Bengals in week 1. Why couldn't the Packers do that to the Colts coming up this Sunday? Make it simple on Malik Willis. Hand off to Josh Jacobs. Run some play action. Run some boot action and take off and use your legs. Get down, obviously. Slide. Don't take any big hits. Not a big guy. Why couldn't they do that and win? I think that's what's going to happen. The Colts, yes, the 60-yard pass from Anthony Richardson was, yes, it was highlight worthy. Outside of that and a couple of other deep ball throws, Anthony Richardson still doesn't scare you in the passing game. So if you're the Packers, you stop Jonathan Taylor, force Anthony Richardson to throw underneath and in the intermediate. I feel like they're going to be their way of winning that game. Other games I'll be watching, Cincinnati and Kansas City. That's like a Sunday afternoon. I think that's probably the game of the 4 o'clock window. Yeah, so Burrow usually steps his game up against the high-profile quarterbacks, none higher than Patrick Mahomes. Problem is, it's week 2. Bengals start slow. Next problem, I don't really know how dangerous their offense is right now. Unless T. Higgins comes back. I mean, I saw some story about fans saying he's faking the hamstring injury, which he kind of let them know wouldn't make a lot of sense, which I kind of understand. He's trying to get a new contract. What does it do for him to miss games this season if he's trying to get a new deal? So he's definitely needed because Chase needs somebody else in that passing game that's going to take pressure off of him, because what made it easy for New England was they had Christian Gonzalez following him all around. They had a safety over the top. So Gonzalez was there for the short intermediate game. If they ever tried anything over the top, you had a safety there helping out. If you have T. Higgins on the other side, okay, so now some of your attention goes there, and that obviously makes it easier for Burrow. I think the running game, they need Zach Moss more involved. He's not Joe Mixon, who we saw in Houston go off. And Joe Mixon's a guy that they phased out in Cincinnati pretty quickly. I'm sure they would love to have that back, but just the threat. You just need the threat of the running game to help Burrow right now. And if they can't do that, they'll probably find themselves 0-2. I don't think it's that big of a deal with Cincinnati. I wouldn't panic yet, but going to Arrowhead, 4 o'clock. It's tough any time of the day playing in Arrowhead. So if they lose in Arrowhead, I'm not going to sit there and knock them for it. Arrowhead's one of the toughest places to play, like I just said. Also, side note, all this Burrow discourse that's happening on these, sports talk shows, why are we doing this now? I've seen everybody from James Jones, like Chris Canty, all these guys are now starting to doubt how good Joe Burrow is. I don't know. He's a guy who's been to the AFC title game twice, been to a Super Bowl once. And Joe Burrow's been in the league, what, 4 or 5 years? What are we questioning? Because once again, if you start questioning Joe Burrow, you're opening yourselves up to talk about some of these other quarterbacks that I don't think you want to have that discussion with. Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers. Should I keep going? These are some other guys who, some of them, Aaron Rodgers has been around 16, 17 seasons, one conference title win, one Super Bowl appearance. But we're talking about Joe Burrow, who's been to two conference title games, been to a Super Bowl early on in his career. I'm just saying, why are we having the conversation? Lamar Jackson hasn't been to a Super Bowl yet he has two MVPs. But we're talking about Joe Burrow. I'm just throwing it out there. I find it a little funny. But let's move off of that. Other games I'll be watching, Tampa Bay and Detroit. That's another game from week 2 that I'm interested to watch. Because to be honest with you, outside of San Francisco, Detroit looks like the best team in the NFC. They look like maybe even more so than San Francisco. Maybe they might be the most physical team, not only in the NFC, but in the whole league. And I think for a lot of weeks, that physicality alone will be enough for them to win. You know, I do think Detroit's gonna, especially with the Jordan Love injury in Green Bay, this is going to be their opportunity to create some space in that division, almost kind of run away and hide with it. I just love what Dan Campbell's done with that group. They're a team that's going to line up, bully you up front, hand it off to Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery, and dare you to tackle those guys. And then on the other side, you got Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield, who's kind of doing Baker stuff, making some plays, pumping up guys on the sideline, having fun out there. I'm one of those who's a Baker fan. I love seeing him have success in Tampa Bay. So we'll see. Is Tampa Bay for real? Detroit, I know is for real. Like, are Tampa Bay and those players ready for what's coming to them from Detroit? Like, you face Detroit, like I said, you better bring your hard hat, like strap your helmet on tight with the chin strap, and be ready for 4 quarters to be beat up. So those are the games from week 2. I will say I will be watching. I mean, once again, as a degenerate sports fan, I'll be checking in on some more. Because I'll have, a game on a TV. I'll put a game on one of the monitors on my computer. I'll put Red Zone on the other one, and I'll just sit there and just take it all in. So, once again, I put up the wrong graphic, but whatever. You get where I'm coming from. College football. Obviously, got to watch some of that as well. Jory once again mentioned Bama. Bama's playing Wisconsin this week. I'm expecting Bama to win that one. But it's been a weird college football season already. I think A&M in Florida. I mean, this is where I saw like top 10 games of week 3. I can't really disagree with any of them. I'll probably check out as much of these as I can. I mean, LSU, South Carolina, I plan on watching some of that one as well. But yeah, we're on to week 3 in college football. We're another week closer to the 12-team playoff. That's where my excitement is with this season, to see how the 12-team playoff plays out, how rankings and all that work and everything like that. Because I still think 12-team playoff, you'll get a lot of these big-name squads in there. It seemed like some college football fans were afraid of expanding the playoff to allow lesser teams in. You're still going to get big boy football in the playoff. And I think now is kind of when you start looking at some of these teams positioning themselves. Even though for a lot of week 3, it's a light slate. Obviously, once you get into Conference football, I feel like that's when I probably pay a lot more attention necessarily to the whole slate of games. I think BC Missouri is the only game this weekend where both teams are ranked. So, in that grand scheme, it's a bit of a light week, but it's college football. I will be watching. Now, obviously, as a Boston sports fan, I will be keyed in to my teams. So, like I said, BC is ranked for the first time in I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a while. Part of me wants to say since the Matt Ryan season when he had them ranked as high as second in the country. I don't think they've been ranked since then, and that was a while. No, they had to have been ranked before. After that one. That was a while ago. Maybe not. I don't know. It's been a while since I looked at the top 25 and saw BC there. And they're barely in. They're ranked 24th. Missouri is, I think, number 6. So that's definitely a step up in competition. Bill O'Brien so far, I'm impressed by what he's done. They look legit. You can tell, he's a guy who came from the NFL, brought some of that to BC. BC's not necessarily one of those schools that's going to get the most talented guys, but I do think this system can work there. He's, empowering Castellanos to use his legs. He's making some throws. They're running the ball. They're playing a very physical style, which is what BC kind of has to do, like I said. So they beat Florida State, week 1, but we've seen so far Florida State's a bit of a mess. I don't think a lot of people are going to look back at that one in a couple of weeks and say, good win. They beat Duquesne last week, which most of you who watch this may not even know where Duquesne is located. It's in Philly, by the way. And I think this is the first real test. Missouri plays in the SEC, seen as the more dominant conference than the ACC. So obviously a step up in competition. And they're a top 10 team, which Florida State was 10 at the time, but like I said, they're not a real top 10 team. Missouri looks legit, and we'll find out what Bill O'Brien does in terms of a game plan and whether or not they'll be able to establish the run. Long sustained drives will probably be the way to go against Missouri. It's kind of tough. Obviously, I want to pick BC to win, but it's going to be tough. That's how they're going to have to do it. Long drives, beat them up, and use the running game. As I mentioned with the NFL, the Patriots with a chance to go 2-0. I know Vegas says the over-under is on 4.5. They could get basically halfway there after the first 2 games, facing the Seahawks team that's going to try to run the ball against them. Not BC. The Patriots held up well against Cincinnati in week 1, but Cincinnati's not really a running team. Seattle wants to run the ball, so we'll see how the defense plays against that. Mike McDonald, almost said Mike McDaniel, but Mike McDonald, the new coach with Seattle, bringing in Baltimore's defensive philosophy and everything like that. We'll see what scheme he puts up for the Patriots offense that wants to run the ball. I do want to see more from Jacoby Brissett in the passing game. I want to see the young guys in Polk. Well, Baker was inactive in week 1. Would love to see him active in week 2, see what he can do. Tyquan Thornton looked okay against Cincinnati. He's a guy that's been oft injured his tenure in New England. I feel like their wide receiver group can be pretty good. So I want to see them throw the ball a bit more, obviously, if warranted. If they can win again, running the ball like they did with Stevenson rushing for 120 yards and all that, fine. If it's not broke, why fix it? But I am curious that if they were down 7-10 early, what would this pass offense look like? So that's what I'll be looking out for. I do think like I said, I already made my picks already, so I have the Patriots winning it. But I think it's going to be a very interesting game to watch. And then finally, we have Red Sox Yankees this weekend. Last night, the Yankees won with a Juan Soto walk off in the 10th. They beat the Red Sox 2-1. I mean, obviously, this is the rivalry of baseball. Both teams are playing for something. The Yankees are trying to be the number one overall seed in the American League, possibly in all of baseball. And the Red Sox are holding on to playoff hopes by a thread. They probably at this point need to win the next two. Take 2 out of 3 from New England. From New England. Jeez, I'm all over the place today. Sorry. Take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. Hope the Twins lose the next 2 games because that's been the problem. The Red Sox have been struggling the past couple of weeks. And every time it seems like they win a game, the Royals and Twins win. So they haven't really made any ground on anybody. And it seemed like every time they lost, the Twins at least lost the same time. So they are, I think they're 4 back right now. There might be 5 back, but they're running out of time. Like the regular season ends on the 29th. If they're going to make one last push at it, it's got to start Saturday and Sunday with wins against the Yankees. They probably needed to win last night. Got it to extra innings. It was 1-1, but the Red Sox couldn't score in the top of the 10th. And like I said, the Yankees got the walk-off single from Juan Soto in the bottom of the 10th. So that's probably a game they needed to win, but they didn't, whatever. Actually, let me see. Who's pitching for the Yankees? All right, so they have Garrett Cole on the mound. The Red Sox have Bayo. Bayo's pitched really well his past few starts. You know, he has that changeup that's really, really good. It's just going to be the control he has with it. Because usually if his control gets wild with the changeup, he really struggles because that's his go-to pitch. And for Garrett Cole struggles normally against the Red Sox, especially with the home run, especially against Rafi Devers. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Red Sox pull off the win today. But I'm not today. Sorry, tomorrow, Saturday. Wait a minute. So it's a 4-game set. Sorry, I said 3-game set. I completely messed up that today is Friday, not Saturday. But so they lost game 1. They probably need to take the next 3. I said the next 2. So take the next 3, which means you got to beat Schmidt today from the Yankees. And the Red Sox have Tanner Houck. I guess if you look at it, is their ace. Coming off a loss, you need Tanner Houck to go 6-7 innings probably. Give them an opportunity to win. The Red Sox bullpen, hit or miss. So don't want to necessarily depend on them. Tomorrow is the Garrett Cole, Brian Bayo matchup. Like I said, keep that one close. Garrett Cole usually gives up a home run or 2. Take advantage. And then Sunday night will be Cutter Crawford and Carlos Rodon. Cutter Crawford's been a roller coaster ride all season. So I don't know what to expect from that one. But if they win Friday and Saturday, momentum taking them into Sunday night, who knows? But that's kind of where the Red Sox are right now. And actually, make sure what is their positioning. So they're 4.5 back of the Twins. Yeah, running out of time. But that's what I'm watching this weekend. So if you watch this after, you can leave a comment on what you'll be watching. Let's see what else. I mean, Sunday night, I might do a watch along for Red Sox Yankees. I don't know. Sunday afternoon, I'll try for Patriots and Seahawks because I do want to do live streams for the Patriots. If all else fails, I might pick up the Patriots game after it starts. It would be in the first quarter, though. It just wouldn't be at the beginning. I might just do that because I do want to watch that game as well. So maybe this weekend, you might see me pop up again for Patriots, Seahawks, and Red Sox, Yankees. I don't know. I might end up doing just one of them, because since both of them would be on Sunday, like that would be a lot. But I don't know. We'll see. I believe that's all I got for you. So take that away. Appreciate you tuning in. I mean, if you're in here, if there's anything else you want to talk about, drop it in the chat, and I can. But yeah, that's all I got. A little over an hour. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, you can hit the like button, all that good stuff. Follow or subscribe, depending on where you're watching this. If you have the opportunity, if you find yourself over on Facebook, I do have a page set up for the podcast, Chompin at the Bit. Feel free to follow that page, because unfortunately, with Facebook's new rules, I can't go live from it until I reach a certain threshold of followers, which is, I think it's 100. I'm like halfway there. Would definitely love the help on getting there so I can stream from there without having the workaround of like streaming on my personal page and then putting it up over there after the fact. Kind of defeats the purpose of creating the page, but hey, those are Zuckerberg's rules. I'm just trying to abide by them. Also, obviously under the video in the description, have a link to the Discord. Feel free to jump into my server. Definitely talk sports in there. I even talk during games I'm watching. So if you want to go in there and interact with me when I'm not live on here, greatly appreciate that as well. So I'll probably be in there during Premier League in the morning or grass ping pong. I get it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I am a soccer fan. But yeah, I think that's all I got for you. So appreciate you tuning in. Like I said, I'm going to try to do these more often. Still kind of decide which days work best for me, as well as probably for you. So I don't know. Maybe I feel like at least once a week I want to do these. I wouldn't mind it being like twice, even 3 times a week, just doing a live like this. But maybe you can let me know in the comments if you like these or you prefer the recorded videos I used to do. I don't know. But thanks again. Appreciate you. Be safe. God bless. I'll catch you next live or video. And yeah, I'm out. All right, bye.